But I think we're doing a damn good job with what we got.
I think so, too. I think we're doing very good. Pat on our backs. Boop, boop,
Yes,
boop.
pet, pet.
Something wicked this way, something wicked this way,
Hey,
Hello.
it's episode 5.
Episode 5.
Episode 5. I'm Chrissy.
I'm Jill.
And this is Maritime
Maritime Supernatural Podcast.
Supernatural. Yeah, so it's been about 2 weeks since our last recording. We were supposed to record last week, but then I just got really busy and couldn't research at all.
It's been a very busy couple weeks for me as well.
Yeah, I did get to see Sum 41 and The Offspring in concert, which was amazing. Yes, 15-year-old Chrissi was alive and well that night. I wish that I had like all of the clothes that I wish I had in high school. Like I should have gone to Hot Topic.
It's not like you wanted the clothes you used to have. You want the clothes you used to want.
I still
Is that what
have
you mean?
such yes. Yeah, I like I'm still wishing that I had those clothes.
Yeah.
I have such a love for like emo and scene looks. Like I'm such a sucker for it to this day at 29 years old. Like
You should do it for like Halloween or something one year. And it's like, I'm going to dress like I wanted to dress when I was 15.
Yeah. I will still say that that subculture still very much relies on being very skinny and and I am not that.
Okay.
But I'll partake in a studded belt or two, I suppose.
Yeah.
Raccoon tail dye jobs in my hair.
If I dressed the way I wanted to dress when I was a kid, I would be constantly riding a horse. The main piece of my outfit would be a horse. A live
The
horse.
main piece.
Yeah, I was a horse kid for sure. And not even like I only rode one a couple times, but like I would still love to have a horse, you know? Someday.
I appreciate horses. I don't feel like I was ever like a horse kid. According to my family, I had like a weird connection with horses. Like I could literally just walk up to any horse and they're like, I guess this kid's here in my zone now. Like,
And they didn't kick you.
yeah. They didn't get spooked by me just coming up to them like, I want to touch your face. Like, yeah.
I feel like that is so risky.
Yeah.
They've got huge chompers.
Yeah. In all fairness, if my family noticed me wandering away, they would not let me get near these giant animals.
Good. Okay.
But I did have a tendency to just wander off.
That's fair.
And away.
Yeah. Have you grown out of that?
No.
Didn't think so.
But now I have a cell phone and also I'm an adult. So I can both respond to my parents looking for me and also take care of myself and call myself a cab if I need to.
Good.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. So I think this episode, I'm starting us off.
I believe so. I believe I started last week with the sea monster roundup. And so you are starting this week with your story.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to start us off with an urban legend.
Ooh.
So this isn't the urban legend I'm going to talk about, but I want to bring it up. So you've heard of Bloody Mary, right?
I have, yes.
I'm going to read real quick the Wikipedia entry for Bloody Mary, just as kind of an example of a ritualistic urban legend. So historically, the divination ritual encouraged young women to walk up a flight of stairs backward, holding a candle and a hand mirror in a darkened house. As they gazed into the mirror, they were supposed to be able to catch a view of their future husband's face. There was, however, a chance that they would see a skull or the face of the Grim Reaper instead, indicating that they were going to die before they would have the chance to marry.
Woof.
So, in the ritual today, Bloody Mary allegedly appears to individuals or groups who ritualistically invoke her name in an act of, catoprotrophy. I can't even say that word. So, ritualistically invoke her name. This is done by repeatedly chanting her name into a mirror placed in a dimly lit or candlelit room. In some traditions, the name must be repeated 13 times or some other specified number of times. For what I've always heard, it was 3.
I've always heard 3 as well, yeah.
Yeah. The Bloody Mary apparition allegedly appears as a corpse, witch, or ghost, can be friendly or evil, and is sometimes seen covered in blood.
Ooh.
The lore surrounding the ritual states that participants may endure the apparition screaming at them, cursing them, strangling them, stealing their soul, drinking their blood, or scratching their eyes out.
That's the one I've always heard.
It's so extreme. Which one? The
so
eyes
extreme.
out one? Or
Yeah.
I hadn't heard any of that. The way I had heard it was just that she'd appear and you'd be terrified. Some other things they call it are Hell Mary or Mary Worth. Those are like other names. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of bring up this because I thought it was a good example of well-known folklore-ish urban myth that we all would have heard about.
Yes.
So now I'm going to bring us to New Brunswick.
Okay, that's my place.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so have you heard of Grey Island Cemetery?
I almost did this story.
Oh, you know it. Okay.
I did not look into it, but it was on my open tabs and I was just about to switch over to it until I found the story that I'm doing tonight.
No way. So
Yeah.
I feel like we're on a similar like path with what we're
Yes.
interested in. It's good to know we're on the
Yes.
same page. So you've heard of it, but you don't know what it is, or?
No, I may have heard the story before because it's definitely familiar, but I don't know any details or anything.
Okay. Well, this one has a lot of different retellings that I'll get into, like a few different interpretations, I guess. Mm-hmm. So it's in Hillsborough, New Brunswick.
That's where my nanny's from.
Oh, okay. And the general sort of consensus I've read so far has been that a rich man's wife died, and in some cases she was murdered. And he got a statue created that looked exactly like her and placed over her grave. And he would, go to the statue every day, and people could see him sort of talking to someone, but there was nobody else there. And he was having this conversation at this statue. And he would go every single day until eventually the grief killed him. The statue as it is today is missing a hand and also its head.
Ooh.
And there's a few stories about why they think that is, and I'll get into that later. But I'll just go
Okay.
over the first urban legend that I ran into first. Okay, the statue was missing just a hand at this time. And the eyes of the statue were hollowed out, so they were sort of like empty sockets. We're not
Ugh.
sure what used to be in there. And I don't think it looks like it's meant to be empty, but I do know that some sculptures, if they ever did have eyes, there's a lot of sculptures that just don't anymore.
Okay.
And this was one of those. So this was like a hollow-eyed statue with only one hand.
Ooh.
So in this ritual, you close your eyes and you walk around the statue 3 times backward. when you open your eyes and face the statue will be looking back at you with human eyes.
No, thank you.
In the sockets.
No, thank you.
And some sources say that it will also cry blood. And then some other sources were saying that only happens on a full moon. Very specific. It's like, if you do this, you'll get the human eyes. But if you do it on a full moon, you'll also get the blood tears.
Oy, oy, oy.
So there was another one, like another urban legend about this, where if you close your eyes and you walk around 3 times backward, you turn your back to the statue once you're done circling it. And so you're standing there and your eyes are closed and your back is to this statue, and you'll feel it tap your shoulder.
Oh, I don't like that.
And some people say that's when they'd removed the hand so that it wouldn't tap your shoulder anymore, but that the phenomena would still happen.
Yeah. Hey, yeah. You don't usually control paranormal phenomenon. Like, sorry, friends.
Yeah, it was a good try.
Nice try, but no, that's not how any of this works.
Yeah. So then, I guess currently the statue's missing not just the hand, but also the head. And I'm going to read a couple of different interpretations of this urban myth that I found on a website called hauntedplaces.org. And these were people who were commenting on an article about this urban legend. So Aaron says, "This is not the story I know of the statue. I grew up in Hillsborough, and this is the story I was told and told to others as they went on train excursions past the Gray's Island." So I guess the island isn't just called... Some people, I think, also called it Graves Island, but it's called Gray's Island. Anyway, the marble statue is of a girl who died, and her mourning father had it shipped from Germany when he moved here. Her eyes were made of ruby. One evening, 2 robbers came to steal the rubies. They managed to get them out of the sockets. It was late, around midnight. Something spooked them, and they ended up walking around the statue backward 3 times. The 2 robbers then disappeared, never to be seen again. The story goes that if you go there at midnight and walk around the statue 3 times backward, you will disappear. The fingers were also shot off at one point. Maybe those who did that disappeared too.
Yeah, they would deserve it, honestly.
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing? Like, damaging property, especially like a grave site. It's kind of disheartening when you see people disrespecting something that people, have to remember their loved ones and celebrate life and remember them. And
yeah, I'll touch on this like a little bit in my story, but it's like cemeteries, like places where we mourn the dead, like they're so sacred. Like, don't be a dick in a cemetery. Never. This should be 101.
I agree. Unless you want to get disappeared, I guess.
Unless you want to get disappeared, yes.
So the next one is the story I heard, and this one's from Spook Boy. The story I heard was that in the 1600s or 1800s, a man's daughter was murdered, so he had a statue made of her as her tombstone. She had ruby eyes, and on her hand was a real diamond ring the man's dead wife had given to the daughter. A wedding ring, maybe? Then 2 grave robbers came and stole the rubies and broke off the hand to take the ring, since it was coated in cement or marble, whatever the statue is made of. The 2 robbers were found dead, but the rubies and ring were never found. Over the years, the statue had been known to haunt people that taunt or do not believe. Her empty eyes were known to stare down and cause them very bad luck. So someone broke the statue's head off with a baseball bat. The legend continues.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Do you know what year the head disappeared? Because it seems like that's pretty recent.
Ooh, I'm not sure. I wonder if I could find out. Hand stolen and head decapitated. I'm not sure if there's any dates, like, quickly found.
Yeah. I did just find a really cool Facebook page, though.
I went here before. Oh, this is from Jay. I went here before we happened to just find it on our way, and what a creepy feeling we had the moment we arrived. Also about the missing people there, we found an old pack of smokes and keys in the tops of the gates, as if someone entered and left their stuff there and never returned for them. They look super old.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah. And then this one's kind of interesting too. It's from Cody Stokes, and it says, Has anyone been here and seen the silhouette of a man in a jacket and a top hat right near the gates?
That's specific.
And nobody said anything. I know, that's like so creepy. I don't know, seeing like silhouettes of people always gives me the chills. It's so unknown and ominous.
Yeah. Actually, a friend of mine and her husband now live in Hillsborough, so I should maybe I'll just send her over there and be like, hey, just tell me what you see.
Yeah, send a field agent.
Yes. Yeah. or maybe like next time I visit her, I'll be like, hey, you want to go ghost hunting?
Oh my God. If you do, you should take like a clip or something.
Yes. Yeah. I'll take a camera with me.
Yes.
Yeah. I suppose my phone can count as a camera, but whatever. It's fine.
It's fine. It would do a good job. So there are someone did include a picture, and the statue is pretty spooky. It's got like a very large base, and where the hand is broken off, it's got like moss that has grown there, like a yellowish, orangish moss, and it's kind of growing over the statue. It's pretty spooky looking.
Ooh, but also cool.
It does look very cool. So yeah, I think that's the that's Gray's Island Cemetery statue. And yeah, I thought it was pretty neat.
Yeah, that's short and simple and very cool. Yeah, that's super spooky.
Yeah, I love urban legend things. And like, I don't know if I would ever do it. Like, I never had the guts or the will to want to summon Bloody Mary. And I don't think I'd want to feel a hand tapping my shoulder or see like disembodied human eyes staring down at me since the head's gone. I'm assuming the eyes would still show up, just there wouldn't be a head around them.
Oh no, just eyes with like,
I'm just assuming.
With like the nerve endings in the back.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I mean, that's
creepy.
that's the only explanation I can think of that would happen. And that's why I don't want to try.
See,
that would be so scary.
For me, like any kind of like ritualistic summoning thing has always been way too spooky. Like that just feels too real and purposeful. And it's like, you're calling on some dark forces to make this happen. Like I don't know what I'm getting into by doing these things.
Yeah, and like there's no like bargain or benefit to it as far as I can tell. Like you're just kind of doing this to scare yourself, and then that's like the best case scenario is that you scare yourself.
Yes, yeah. And the first time I heard of Bloody Mary was in elementary school. There's a massive windstorm outside, and it ended up blowing out the power at the school, and it wasn't safe for kids to leave because it was like basically a hurricane happening outside.
Yes.
And so they started to just bring all the kids down into the cafeteria, which is in the basement. And these older kids, knowing full well that I'm a giant weenie, they talked to me and they're like, hey, have you ever heard of Bloody Mary?
Oh my God.
And there's this really creepy bathroom behind the theater in the gym.
Yeah.
And like it was notoriously known to be haunted. Like to this day, I'm like, yeah, that place was definitely haunted. And they were like, yeah, if you go in there and you say Bloody Mary 3 times, like she'll appear and she'll claw your eyes out.
Oh my God.
And I of course started like bawling, and the teachers had to like scare away like the older kids. Like
Sin.
yeah. So that was my first experience hearing of Bloody Mary, and it's like I'm never doing that. Why would you do that?
I have no idea. Like, I remember when I was a really super little kid, I was at a sleepover, and the girl whose sleepover I was at had one of those little flashlights. It's like a handheld flashlight, and your thumb does the button, and it's kind of like almost an L-shaped flashlight, like a really small one.
Yeah.
And she had one of those, and we went in the bathroom, and it was like one of those bathrooms that was decorated fairly old timey. Like, it looked like it came out of like the 50s or something. Like a lot of, I don't know, frilly and pastel-y kind of stuff going on. Mm-hmm. And she turned out the light and shut the door, and we were in like pitch black. And she lit the flashlight under her chin. And then she was like, have you ever heard of Bloody Mary? And obviously I was like, no. And then she like looked in the mirror, and I was like looking at her, and all I could see in the mirror was like her reflection, her upper like underlit face in the reflection of this mirror. So we're like two little girls in there. And she did it. She was like, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. And then we stood and like looked in the mirror for a second, and she was like, ah! And she like made this loud sound and scared the poopers out of me. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's like all I remember.
Yeah. I mean, like there's like pretty solid evidence that, Bloody Mary appearing in the mirror is like, is literally just our simple primate brains getting fooled in the dark light.
Yes, totally.
Which in and of itself is pretty fascinating. And if anybody's interested in looking it up, like I definitely would. It's very cool. And also just proof that we're not that smart. We're really not.
Yeah,
like we're so easy to fool.
Oh yeah, totally. If you believe something, like you'll see something.
Yeah. And I mean, that being said, I have heard a lot of stories of people getting scratched and hurt like really badly by doing things like this. And like I said, it's a ritual. You are summoning something, like you are calling upon the powers that be to do something, and you don't know what those powers are. Totally. Yeah.
So yeah, that was my little segment on urban legends.
Oh, that was great, and I look forward to more. So for my story, we are staying in New Brunswick.
Woohoo!
But we are going to Grand Manan Island.
Okay.
So I've made this a little bit longer just because the story itself is quite short, but I wanted to go over some history of the island to kind of place why this, or not urban legend, but why this story can make sense in context.
Okay.
So, Grand Manan Island is located at the very south of New Brunswick. It is the largest of the Fundy Islands in the Bay of Fundy and sits on the border of Fundy Bay and the Gulf of Maine. It also lends its name to Grand Manan Parish and the village of Grand Manan, which, as of 2016, had a population of 2,360 people. Okay. So, yeah, it's a pretty small community. The majority of residents live on the eastern side of the island due to the western side having steep cliffs and high winds. That being said, the western side takes advantage of these winds with wind power ventures. So there's wind farms on there. The island also has magnetic sand, so that's cool.
So magnetic sand is like
sand that is magnetized. So if you like run a magnet over the sand, you'll
jump up.
You'll pick up pieces of sand.
Cool.
Yes, it's very cool. So Grand Manan is likely a colonial bastardization of Mananook from and I apologize for my clumsy English tongue here, Maliseet, Passamaquoddy, Penobscot First Nations, meaning island place or the island, and was a place where First Nations would take their elderly during the winter months, and was also likely a sacred burial ground.
Okay.
It is believed that Norse sailors visited the island around 1000 AD, making them the first Europeans in the area, but there is no substantial proof of this. The island was first charted by Portuguese explorer João Alvares Fagundes. I tried so hard. I practiced that all day. In 1520, but did not officially appear on a map until 1558. Fagundes and his crew likely also gave the area its current name, calling it Rio Fundo, meaning deep river. French merchant explorer Etienne Bélanger, upon seeing this map, decided that he was going to set sail for this newfound paradise. He sailed his ship Chardon down one side of Nova Scotia and promptly tried to rename Bay of Fundy as Baie Française, so French Bay, which classic French explorers. Cool. He ended up revisiting Grand Manan Island between 10 to 15 times, gauging its timber and mineral resources. This is colonial or classic colonial explorer talk.
Yeah.
He said the natives of Cape Breton were cunning, cruel, and treacherous after having lost 2 men and his ship's pinnace, which is like a small rowing boat, while passing through their territory, likely unannounced and unapologetically, as colonists tend to do. He said the Passamaquoddy people were much more gentle and tractable. This is, just speculation, but I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that they were primarily meeting on Grand Manan Island, which was supposedly sacred ground where conflict was likely extremely frowned upon. So French explorer Samuel de Champlain granted the island of Grand Manan to Paul d'Ailleboust, Sel de Périgny, as part of Champlain's campaign for New France. d'Ailleboust was like, no thanks. And the island ended up reverting to the French crown, where it stayed part of the French royal possession until they traded it to Britain during the Treaty of Utrecht in 1713.
Okay.
Yeah. So, during the early 1800s, the island was, quote, infested with privateers. The island's residents suffered quite a bit during these years, as often privateers from both sides of the island would rage the villages on the east side. Because Grand Manan was in a territory dispute between the U.S. and Britain, they did not receive military safety until Britain won the dispute in 1817. So basically, people were suffering because they were like, well, if it's your island, you put your military there. It's like, well, we don't want our military there because you think it's your island, but also we're not going to waste our resources.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, eventually the island was passed over to British hands and then shoo all of the privateers off.
Okay.
By the 1830s, the island became a place for prosperity and privacy. Grand Manan started building a reputation for fishing, shipbuilding, carpentry, and some of the greatest maritime craftsmen.
Okay.
The island saw many shipwrecks during this time. One of the most famous was the Lord Ashburton in winter of 1857. Traveling from France and only 60 miles from its destination of St. John, New Brunswick, it was struck by hurricane-force winds, and the captain, 3 mates, and the entire crew of 28 men were swept off board.
Ooh, that's unfortunate.
Yes, 8 of the men survived, washing ashore onto Grand Manan, and were saved by the locals. The bodies of the rest of the crew were gathered from the cliffs the following day and buried in the cemetery, and there is now a monument built in their memory.
Wow.
Yeah. Permanent residents in the late 19th century tried to guard their little paradise, but when the island became the largest producer of smoked herring in the world, word got out to Victorian tourists about this little slice of heaven, and Grand Manan tourism industry was beginning to build.
Smoked herring.
Yes. Yeah, apparently they, in 1912, they produced over 1 million boxes, which is
whoa,
22 tons or something of smoked herring.
Holy moly.
Yeah, it's just
I should have said holy mackerel.
Fun fact number 2, in 2006, residents of Grand Manan caused, quote, some controversy when they burned down a supposed drug dealer's house.
Whoa.
So it's that's fun. That's metal.
Yeah.
So now that we know a bit of the history, it's time for the most famous Grand Manan ghost story.
Okay.
Long Pond, Anchorage Park, Grand Manan, sometime between 1948 and 1960. Vernon Bagley, a do no harm, take no shit kind of guy, resides in a cabin by the pond side. One day, some activity on the water caught his attention, and so he looks out with using a looking glass. And he sees a seabird flipping about and acting strangely on the water. So while he's watching this bird, some more movement off to the side catches his eye, and he shifts to see a man walking on the surface of the pond coming towards him.
Nope.
Yeah.
That sounds terrifying.
The mysterious man is wearing a long coat, carrying a big unsheathed sword at his side, and most notably has a round red nose.
What? Santa?
Yeah, that's what I immediately thought, but it gets kind of creepy now.
Okay.
Bagley freezes in fear as the man approaches him, and he recognizes him right away as a pirate. As the pirate got closer, Bagley thought he should speak, but gently so as to not scare or startle the apparition. The pirate apparently did not appreciate this because he immediately turned towards Bagley, opened his mouth, and let out a giant roar, and then kept walking towards the woods in the direction of Bagley's cabin. Bagley watched the pirate walk behind his house, but the apparition did not reappear on the other side where he should have. He simply disappeared.
Or he broke in.
Oh, God.
He got in through the pantry window and he's rustling through your goods.
Where are those cool fish crackers I keep hearing about? Vernon Bagley saw the pirate just once more after that, walking in the weeds around the pond. So after his experience, Bagley was like, that was weird. I wonder if anybody else has heard of this pirate. So he asks around the village, and he discovers two teenage boys who one evening were camping by the pond and roasting wieners over a fire.
Yes.
Suddenly they look up and there's a pirate walking off the water and up to them, scaring them so badly that they drop the wieners they were roasting into the fire.
Oh, yeah, there goes supper.
Oh, no. The pirate apparently reached into the fire and pulled them out, asking what they were. The boys were so frightened by this that they ran off to find their father, who returned with them to the pond. And the three of them were able to see the pirate walking off into the woods at Henderson's Point.
Was that near the guy's cabin?
I'm not sure. I didn't look it up. Actually, I might as well open up a map.
That would suck. It's like you drop your supper and it's in the fire, and then you see someone else pick it up and they don't even appreciate it. They're like, what is this? It's like, my supper.
That was my supper.
Give me back my wieners.
No, my wieners. You're just touching them. Okay, so.
Okay.
Yeah, no. No, it must be like an older name.
That's okay.
Bagley questioned the boys further, and they were able to describe the pirate, including the large sword and the round red nose.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, so he was like, yeah, that's the guy I saw. So although he hasn't seen the pirate since, he says there were many times living there that he didn't feel alone, like someone was watching him or leaning over him while he worked.
Leaning over him while he worked, or whenever he ate his goldfish crackers.
And wieners. The pirate's just like in the window like, I gotta know what those wieners are. Oh my God, I'm so curious. Those boys didn't tell me.
They just ran screaming instead of telling me what they're...
Wait, I can't eat this. I don't know.
Is it even edible? Like, what is this?
Hot dog, you say? Long Pond is now a hiking trail and part of the Anchorage Provincial Park. However, there are no official recent reports of pirate sightings. Yeah, so I'm like, I want to go check that place out and see if I can see a pirate.
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
Bring wieners and goldfish crackers and it'll up your chances.
Absolutely. Were goldfish crackers even a thing in the 1950s?
Well, no. I mean, I don't know for sure. I feel like they'd be very hard to make without newer technologies, but I could
I
be
feel
wrong.
like animal crackers have been around since like the 1800s.
What? I clearly know nothing of cooked goods. Baked goods?
1962.
Oh,
So it's a little
we're
bit
just
later.
a bit too late.
Yeah.
So our theory has been debunked for now.
Oh, apparently that's like Goldfish cracker brand, but Goldfish crackers have been around since 1958. So
Are we? So it could all mesh.
it could mesh. What's this? What is this? 19? Gotta find out. What's the history of Goldfish crackers? Oh, in Switzerland, and they were only introduced in the United States in 1962.
Oh well,
Damn.
we were so
Got
close.
these luxury Swiss goldfish crackers.
Oh, this is making me so hungry.
I haven't had supper yet. I've got a HelloFresh
man.
waiting for me out in the kitchen, and I'm going to
Munch.
hump on that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And
Yes.
yeah, so now we got to go to Grand Manan, and we got to go to Hillsborough.
Yes. It would be a fun road trip.
Yes.
Well, potentially a terrifying road trip, depending on our results.
Yeah. Well, ¿por qué no los dos?
What?
Why not both?
Oh, I don't speak. I was trying to think of a hilarious language that clearly wasn't, but like I can't. I
Klingon?
blank. I don't speak Klingon. Yeah, that would have been good. Maybe next time.
So, I don't personally have a personal story, but I've got good news.
Tell me your good news.
We have a listener story to share. Yes. And he even spelled my name right, which is amazing.
I'm so excited.
I'm impressed. I'm really impressed.
I'm so excited. Tell me who our listener is.
So our listener is Michael McIntyre.
Thank you, Michael McIntyre.
Thank you so much. So Michael McIntyre writes, "Hey, Chrissy and Jill. I thought through some stories and I have some submissions for the podcast. These are mostly family experiences and odd events. My family was traveling around the Cabot Trail and we stopped in Ingonish to stay overnight at a hotel. I do not remember which one. My brothers are in one room, me and Mom are in another. It's late at night and a thunderstorm rages outside. Mom is having trouble going to sleep and turns on her side. Beyond me on the cot is the barely open bathroom door. And Mom sees the door pull open a bit, then firmly shut.
Oh my God.
We were the only two in that room."
My stomach just did like a flippy flop.
He's got like a ton of these like little itty bitty bite-sized stories, and I love them.
Amazing.
Yes. The middle brother, I'm the youngest, is having a dream where Dad had told him that a young girl was buried on the edge of a property. He then hears a faint cry coming from the backyard. Coming from beyond the backyard. Something to the key of, "Help, help." He looks out of his window and sees the pale figure of a young girl by a swing set when he wakes up in bed. The cries for help kept going through the transition of dream into reality and persisted.
Oh my
He
God.
believes that a tomcat was yowling, but it certainly spooked him.
Oh,
Which,
thank goodness.
fair.
Yeah. Cats
I do have a-
howling and stuff they sound so human-like.
I do have a story when I was 12, I think. Like, this was pretty close to the height of my ghost phobia. I was laying in bed, and my mom was downstairs watching TV, and we had 5 cats in our house at this time.
Okay.
And I hear clear as day, "Help me," meow. And I sit up, and one of our tomcats is sitting at my like at my door, which fun fact, I would later be like, "Oh, he was sitting in the exact same spot where I saw that little girl, but hey, whatever, it's fine."
Yeah.
And I called down to my mom, Ginger Snap just talk to me.
Oh my God.
And I tell her what I heard, and she like, I swear, my mom tried so hard, but I swear her eyes just like rolled out of their sockets and just like onto the floor. She's just like, go to sleep, please.
Okay, I have a question though.
Yeah.
Did it say like help me meow, or did it say like help me? Like, was it like a cat sound, or did it sound like something imitating a cat?
It sounded like something imitating a cat. So I will try to recreate it here. It was help me. Meow.
Oh God.
Yeah. So it's just like, that is the sound that a cat would make while trying to talk.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So get back to Michael's cool stories.
Yes, I'm excited.
I went to bed one night. Dad at one point walked in and put these creepy clown figures on my desk facing me. Cool, Dad. Thanks, Dad.
Why would he do that?
I get out of bed and turn the especially disconcerting hobo clown around and go back to bed.
Good
Not
call.
really spooky, but I thought I'd share this as a laugh. Classic dad. Classic dad maneuver. Dad, you're fired, but also classic dad.
That is so funny. I think I would have like threw it in a drawer or something.
I would have put them in my dad's bed, like just
yeah.
like, here you go,
Under
you
the
can have
blanket,
this, you can
on
have
the
this
pillow.
fear back. Yeah. Or just like hide them around his room, so like he'll just find them randomly, just like, okay, you want this, like
Tape it to the underside of the like toilet cover so that when he like lifts it up, there's just like this clown there.
this nasty clown now. Like, oh my God, that reminds, my mom has these Christmas elves. They're not like Elf on the Shelf, but they're like a similar idea, but they're huge. They're massive, and they've got these like long noodly limbs.
Okay.
And one year for Christmas, it was me, JF, I think, my brother was there for a part of it, and my mom all staying in her house, and we would hide these elves around in like more and more elaborate positions and just scare each other. And like my favorite was JF had hung it upside down from his feet from like there's like the chandelier-esque thing in the kitchen.
Okay.
And so like when you walk in, it's just like this elf like hanging upside down, like, hey. Or we had arranged the two of them with like these electric candles around them, so it looked like they were like summoning.
Oh no.
But my brother, being 6'4", he could get them into some crazy positions that we couldn't even dream of like reaching.
Yeah.
And he managed to cram one of them above the the door in the pantry, like it's a weird, creepy Spider-Man. Like its feet are just like on like the teeny tiny little 1/2-inch ledges of the door frames, and it's like supporting itself, like pushing against the walls and looking down, and it has this like unsettling dead-eyed stare.
Of course
and like
it does.
smile. Yeah. And so it's been up there for like 3 years at this point.
Oh my God, it's still there.
Because my mom's like, this is amazing. Like, this is it. Like, this, like, we can't
This is the
beat
spot.
this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The pinnacle.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the other one is just like crammed in the pantry shelves in a way that you could only see it if you go to the far end of the pantry and
my
then turn
God.
around to leave.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. And it's just like bundled up and like hugging its knees and smiling out at you.
No, thank you.
So back to Michael's cool stories. Sometimes as a young child, while sitting in my grandmother's basement, I would feel like I was pricked by a needle. I was always alone when this happened. Something about that basement always creeped me out, as it was a main room, a bathroom, and then a small hallway that ended in 3 doors that led to dark, cold rooms that felt vaguely off-putting. A guest room, a hot water tank, and then a storage space with a deep freeze. The house is a recurring location in dreams that involve adversarial beings, even though my grandmother was the sweetest grandparent that I could have ever asked for. So I'm left to wonder what my hang up is with this location. I have no real experience. Oh, sorry.
Well, I was going to say just like maybe it isn't his hang up. It's like something else.
Latched on.
Yeah.
I have no real experiences with shadow people, but I once saw a shadow figure when I was a young child going to daycare. I had just sat down in the living room after waking up when I saw a shadow figure race out of the archway into the kitchen and into the hallway. It resembled a warthog or similar pig-like animal.
That's
so
okay.
I'm like,
that's a little less frightening than like a human
weirdly
shape
enough,
to
it's
me.
like, oh, it's a weird animal thing. Okay, phew, I can handle that.
I feel like when it's kind of like animal shaped or something, it's a little bit less frightening just because you feel, and it's probably not the case, but you feel like it's less intelligent maybe or less malicious.
Maybe, yeah. Or definitely less malicious because it's like, oh, it's just acting on instinct. Like,
like you're not thinking of it being
I've heard so many stories of like shadow figures that look like humans, like crawling menacingly or like running up to you, like and it's just like no. You know I don't like that. I know you know I don't like that.
And like the part of his story there where it says races, like it's not like it's just like walking. It went real quick. Like that's
it's got the zoomies.
It's just got the zoomies. That's okay then.
An experience that I had with sleep paralysis involved exiting a dream that dealt with a malign ghost entity and then feeling them present in the room after.
Ugh.
I kept facing the wall. My arms and chest were tight, and I felt that any sudden movement would spur the entity to attack. I kept facing the wall well after this feeling passed, feeling that I was still being watched, which is awful.
That is awful.
That's such a bad feeling.
That is such a bad feeling.
I was early for classes in college one morning. The halls weren't even lit up yet, aside from emergency lights. I closed the door behind me, felt a puff of cold winter wind behind me, and went up the hall. As I got close to the door to the computer lab, I hear the door open. So I looked to see who arrived. Nobody. The electronically locked door then slams shut. This was almost certainly the wind going up the stairwell, but I was going at a casual pace up the hall and nearly at the other end of the hall before the events unfolded.
Yeah.
So that is a good sum to sort through, I feel. I'll hit you up again if I manage to compile a few more stories. Hopefully something more in tune to the ghost stories told. I could go on further about dreams, but that is something veering off into another direction, and my more memorable dreams often involve copious amounts of body horror and more anxiety-driven, rather than actually spooky.
Yeah.
Loving the podcast so far. Great work, Michael McIntyre.
Aw, thank you, Michael McIntyre.
Thank you so much, Michael McIntyre. Like, this is amazing. Like, oh my God.
He has made my month, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
They were spooky, man.
They were super spooky. Oh my God.
Yeah. That was awesome. I love reading listener stories. That was awesome.
I love it so much, and I'm so happy. So speaking of emailing us, you can email us at maritimesupernatural@gmail.com. It's all one word. There's no punctuation except where you would expect it. Just maritimesupernatural@gmail.com. You can find our Twitter and our Instagram at MSN Podcast, and you can follow us on YouTube and get our episodes on YouTube at Maritime Supernatural Podcast. A special thank you to Daniel Luke, who's an amazing artist, animator, friend, and composer. You can find more of his stuff at webbot15.com. That's WEBBOT15.com. And thank you so much for being here, Jill.
Yeah, thank you, Chrissy. This was a lot of fun, and it always is with you. I hope everyone had as much fun listening as we had talking.
Yeah, I love everyone. I love everyone who's tuning in and who will tune in. And hey, if it's been a while you can't keep up, that's cool. You can tune in later.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having this experience with us. It's amazing and it's magical. Rip in peace.
Love you. Bye.